Welcome to episode 51 of the Cohesive Home Podcast. In today's episode, Kate and I chat about how we're keeping our holidays simple and uncomplicated.
So the other day, my sister-in-law reached out to me, Melissa, and was asking me what suggestions I had for meaningful holiday traditions and just like if I had any ideas of new ones to begin because their kids are young. And that really got me thinking about the way that we even approach holidays and also how to do it from a more minimalist and intentional approach. And so I thought this might be a really fun topic to talk about as in the holidays are almost here.
They are upon us. They're here.
Right.
And I really am excited to talk about this because I feel like I really suck at this. Let's be totally honest. I just suck at it. And so I am hesitant to even give any recommendations. So
right.
You had posed this question to me, and I'm just so excited to talk about it because I want to talk about the ideas that we have, but also where I personally feel lacking. Because I'm sure that there are other women out there that feel that way, and men too.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And so I think that there's probably plenty of other people out there that feel what we feel. And I think that it helps, before we actually get into our thoughts on what are some good traditions to maybe introduce, let's actually talk about the social pressure of the holidays, where our ideas of the perfect holiday even comes from. Because that's a really big part of how we celebrate.
Yeah. Well, I think, some of our social norms now are, you've got to have advent calendars. You have to have the garland and, a photo on Instagram. You have to have all of these things that, or special breakfast on Christmas morning. And so there's all these traditions that people are trying to implement. And not in a bad way. I don't feel like it's innately wrong, but I do feel like the social pressure through, say, social media or just even friends, you go to their house and they might have something that you don't, is, what is normal anymore? I don't know. That's kind of an open-ended question, but
yeah. Well, and really, I think our idea of what is normal or what is expected has gotten almost sped up and enlarged because we can see what everyone else is doing. I think back to how my family celebrated Christmas when I was a kid. My mom wasn't stressing about it. She wasn't like, oh, well, my friend on Instagram is doing all these things and I'm not, because there was no Instagram. There was no social pressure.
My mom didn't even have friends to be social pressure.
That's true. Oh my gosh, you just called your mom out.
Sorry, I love you, Mom.
And my mom would say the same thing, right? Yeah, and so really, I feel like obviously that was probably really lonely for them. We're sorry, moms, but that was probably a lot of freedom too, because they could just celebrate either with family traditions that had been handed down or whatever felt good.
Yeah. I have to say, I felt that freedom a little bit when we lived in Germany. Mostly because I don't know. I don't even know why. Because there was Instagram, there was Facebook, there was all the things. And I had friends and I'd go into their homes. But it was a different feeling there. It was much more about community. It was much more about spending time with one another. There was not this pressure to perform. And we had this little tiny Christmas tree and we had us. And it was so amazing. And I'm like, why do I feel like now my children are going to feel like they're missing out because maybe they don't have hot chocolate on a certain day at a certain time and we're celebrating in a certain way. And I
Right.
don't know. I don't even know
Yeah.
like how to answer that, but I want that feeling back. I want that
Yes.
so
Well,
badly.
and so I think what you're wanting is a very simple holiday that's focused on what you value and not on what the rest of the world is telling you that you need.
Yes, exactly. But also, I will say, how there are things that now I know,
Yeah.
let me say, for instance, advent calendars. I love them. I think they are such a beautiful and wonderful idea. And I think if someone has the time to create that, then awesome. I don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just don't have the time to do that. And, just to be honest, I don't have the desire. I don't have the
Yeah.
desire to make it. So, hey, you moms out there that don't feel like doing it, you're okay. Because there are so many out there like me that don't want to do it either. You know what I did? I bought like the chocolate advent calendars from Trader Joe's.
Yes.
Oh my gosh,
Yes.
Mike! I gave my kids them to them last night because we're recording this on December 1st. Oh my gosh, my kids like freaked out. They love it, and it was
Yeah.
so inexpensive and so fun for them. And so yeah, let's just say you don't, to those of you listening, you don't have to do anything expensive. You don't have to do anything that's just over the top performing. It can be so simple, and yet your children are going to remember it and they're going to love it. And you know what? Next year, I will probably buy those again because they
Yeah.
were there and they were cheap. They're awesome.
It's easy. It's an easy way to add
Yes.
a little tradition to your holiday season without all of the pressure and, feeling like you have to create these super perfect magical memories for your kids. I mean, like when I think back to my childhood, I mean, I always loved Christmas. I always loved the time together, but my parents didn't do anything special outside of, like we went to, because I grew up Catholic, so we would go to midnight mass. Like that was a really amazing, exciting tradition that I loved as a kid. Like I always looked forward to getting to stay up late and,
Yeah.
we would have breakfast for dinner on Christmas Eve. My parents would let us open one present the night before. I mean, like these are like really basic things, guys. I mean, my mom didn't really decorate the house and I never felt any lack.
Right.
I don't look back and think, oh, I wish my parents would have done more. No, I don't
Right.
think our
No.
kids are going to be that way either.
Right. Oh, I love that though. Those are such simple. And what is a tradition, right? It's
Yeah.
not the amount of something or the beauty of something. It is the repeated nature of something. It is repeated year after year. And so if that is you just reading a story, right?
Yeah.
Reading something from a certain book every year, whether, whatever type of holiday you're celebrating, that is a tradition. And so I love that. That's very similar to us. It's funny because we're Catholic now, but we didn't grow up Catholic. And so now my kids are like, they've been so young. We haven't done midnight mass. And now I'm like,
Yeah.
"Ooh, I want to do midnight mass. They'll stay up.
Yes.
That'll be fun."
Oh, and they will, and it is such a different experience. I mean, it is really magical.
Yeah.
Because I still can remember all the candles that were lit in the church
Yeah.
and just that feeling of driving
Joy.
there.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
joy, but
Oh,
also
yeah.
driving there and the whole town is asleep. And yeah, I grew up in northern Indiana, so there'd almost always be snow on the ground, and it just felt so special.
That's so
But it
cool.
really, it's not that big of a deal, right? Like now that I look back, I'm like, oh, we went to church on Christmas Eve. Like, a lot of people do that, but it was just so special.
Because, you did it with your family. That was something, as a kid, I lived in Pennsylvania. And, oh, man. So we'd go Christmas
Yeah.
caroling every year because
Oh.
in small town Pennsylvania, you go Christmas caroling.
Uh-huh.
And that was something I really enjoyed. And Yeah, I wish we had it here, but we're not connected to any community that does that right now. And it would be a little weird if we decided to just go around our apartment
Just go
complex Christmas carol.
knocking on people's doors. Let us sing for you, please.
They would be like, "Go to
Open
bed."
your door. Open your door. I know.
So
They're like, what, are they
mad.
collecting money? Like, what do they want?
That's funny. Oh my
Yep.
gosh. Yeah. Let's not endorse any weird traditions.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. That's so funny.
Panhandling.
Right?
Anyway. Off topic. Sorry.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway.
But yes, so all that to say, I think what we're trying to get at here in all of our ramblings and storytelling is don't do any Christmas or holiday, whatever it is you celebrate. Don't do any traditions because that's what you feel expected to do, or you feel pressured to do, or it's because everybody else does it, or it's even what you've always done. Don't do anything unless it fits your values and where you are currently at in your season of life right now. And
Right.
it's okay to totally change things up year to year.
Don't feel the pressure to perform. And I'm
Yes.
talking to myself. I definitely picked up that $7 garland at Trader Joe's. Definitely did that.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? I'm excited about it, and I only bought one, and it smells nice.
Yeah.
And this is the first year I've ever done that. I've never bought that, So there, don't feel guilty for doing something because you saw it on Instagram, but also know that you don't need to perform for someone else.
Yes.
So yeah, I don't really know
Yeah.
how to say that any other
Well,
way.
yeah, and I'll give an example of something that has changed for us over the years. So, we have always liked the idea of going and cutting down our own Christmas tree. Like that just
Yes.
sounds so cool. Like it's such a great tradition, and it feels like a very classic, old-fashioned thing to do, which we like. We like those things. And so a couple years ago, when we lived in Indiana, we found this really great Christmas tree farm where they had like basically a hay wagon that would take you out to the fields, and
Yep.
it was totally driven by Santa, like in the full costume. Right?
awesome.
And our daughters were like, I think that might be one of Santa's helpers. Like they were trying to like figure the whole thing out. It was still really neat. They had apple cider in like a little shed afterward. It was a really great experience. Well, then the following year, we weren't able to get out to that farm because it was like pretty far away. And so we found a different one. And then like this year, we're in a travel trailer. And so we're going to maybe get like a little like tabletop Christmas tree. But
Yeah.
all that to say, like, no one's sad. We're not losing sleep over the fact that we haven't cut down our tree every year because that's what we have to do. We're just embracing that this year Christmas looks a little different for us, but it doesn't mean it won't be just as special.
Right. I love that. They have little Christmas trees at Whole Foods.
You know what? That's so funny that you mentioned that because that's totally where we're going to get our Christmas
Yeah.
tree because it's got like the little
They're really
stand.
pretty.
And well,
Yeah.
we went and looked at them last night and the girls were like, can we please, can we get one? But we're going to make a day out of it next weekend and we're going to
Cool.
get our tree and we're going to decorate it, which is going to take like all of probably 3 minutes. But that's
Just
fine.
do a lot of things like leading
know.
up to it. Be like, okay, we have to have the hot
Build it
cocoa.
up. You know what though?
Here's a candy
Well,
cane.
and here's the thing, like all of our ornaments are in storage. So when we were traveling this year, one of the things that we would do when we went to national parks would be to grab, they had like the wood ornaments.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's
so, so we have a few of those, and then we'll probably maybe make some ornaments. Maybe we'll do like a popcorn garland or do some dried orange slices
Those are
and keep it
great.
really right, but keep it really simple. If my kids want to make little paper snowflakes, like this isn't going to be a Christmas tree that's going to be in a magazine, but
Right.
we'll make it ours, and it's going to be great.
Yours.
Yeah,
Well, yeah,
for sure.
that was that tree we had in Germany. It was like the Charlie Brown Christmas tree that we got at like
Yes.
Reva, which is like a local grocery store, and but it was great. We made little snowflakes and we put it on there. And
Yes,
yeah,
yeah.
it was awesome. It's been my favorite Christmas tree.
Well, yeah, because it's not really about the things, right? It's not really
Right.
about the tree. It's about how you felt when you guys were together and you
Yeah.
were, you know, you just had each other and you were in a new country, and how exciting was that? Like, it is just about the family. And so often I
Yeah.
think we get really fixated on the stuff that we think is
Right.
going to make the experience, but that's never really where our hearts are.
Yes. So well said, Kate. Oh my gosh. I love
I
that.
had my coffee this morning. I know.
You've got your Jojo. Wait, what? Your Juju?
Wait.
Not Jojo. I said
No.
Jojo. You got your Juju.
I know. Oh my gosh.
Apparently, I haven't had
Something
enough
like.
of mine yet. Wow. As I try and take a sip.
Well, so I have a question for you, Melissa, and
What's
I
that?
can't even remember. We may have talked about this in another episode, guys, so just bear with us, but what is your approach to gift giving this year? Like, how do you handle gifts? Because that is something that we know with you all, that like that comes up so much. Like, if you're trying to simplify, and then that might be different from the way that you've done the holidays in the past. Like, how do you deal with that? So I would love to hear what your approach is.
Uh, I wish I could say that yeah.
Just kidding.
Stay within the confines of our budget.
For
Um,
real. For real.
really, well, I'm very lucky that, so like my parents in particular, so let's just expand it out to grandparents, because
Yeah.
for me and my husband, that has always been the hardest part, is dealing with the gifts that are given from other people.
Yeah.
So like for my parents, they're pretty good about just getting like one big gift and maybe like one small gift. And so like my parents are getting the kids new bikes. So that's
Oh,
something that they
nice.
really, really need.
Wow. Yeah,
that we
that's
can't
great.
afford right now.
Yes.
So they're doing that, and have to make sure that my kids don't listen to this episode.
I know.
And
Oops.
so, oops. And then, no, I think they actually know already. And then my mother-in-law and father-in-law, they've decided to do the whole like read, need, want
nice.
thing.
Uh-huh.
And so that's really nice as well, because that kind of just, it simplifies everything, and it just made me really happy. I was like, good, we're not going to be getting just a ton of things that they don't need. Maybe one of the things they want is something they don't need, but it's still fun for
Yeah.
them. And then for Brandon and I, we just, honestly, we have a very small budget this year, and we really haven't even started thinking
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
We have discussed a little bit on, we actually went rock climbing recently, like bouldering in a gym, and the kids loved it. And we thought, well, what if we get them all shoes, harnesses, and that sort of thing, and like maybe a monthly membership for a little while, just to see if they like it. And
Oh,
that
fun.
would be their gifts.
Yes,
And then also
yes.
camping stuff is another big thing. So all based on experiences. That's really how Brandon and I try to focus our gift giving,
Yeah.
is just experience based, because then we know that's going to force us to go do things as a family and to experience something, right? And to enjoy
Yeah.
something physical and doing something as a family. So that's sort of where we're at right now. And obviously it changes every year, but for Brandon and I, to answer your question, yeah, experiences. We focus
Yeah.
on that. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. You know, I'm totally in alignment with that, especially because we're living so small now. So it's, you know, like as people are asking, family are asking, like, what do the kids want? And I'm like, oh gosh, that makes it a little complicated, So we're requesting things like, like zoo or museum memberships, or
That's awesome.
outings, like with my parents. They're actually, like, I also have to make sure that my kids don't listen to this episode, because they're coming down to visit us the day after Christmas. And my mom and I were talking about what to get the kids, and she loves buying physical things. But I said, I think that they would really love, my girls would love to have a solo one-on-one day with you to go, or an afternoon, even if that's going to Target and you buy them that silly shirt that I wouldn't buy them, or like the headbands, or like, or you take them out for hot cocoa. I mean, like, it doesn't have to be complicated, but they
Right.
would be thrilled. And so those are like the things that we're leaning more toward. Now, my kids are younger than yours, and so we are doing a few very small toys. I mean, like very, very small, like animal figurines that they can play with because they do a lot of imaginative play.
Yeah.
And then my oldest really wants a pocket knife, and she's been asking for 4 years.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm being serious. And so I
Yeah.
found a kid's version of like a Swiss Army knife.
Cool.
You know?
That's cool. Yeah.
So anyway, all that to say, we're like you, we have a very limited budget, so they're each going to get a couple of small things, and that's just the expectation we've set in our family. We've never gone wild on Christmas, so like they don't know any different,
Exactly.
you know?
Yep. Yep.
So, but like, maybe that's something we should kind of talk about is like, if you have done the big, huge Christmas, how do you pare back if that's something that you're feeling called to do? Like, how do you change that in your family?
That expectation, especially if your kids are older, yeah, it's hard to change that. I feel like a lot of you listening are probably similar to Kate and I in the way that you approach parenthood, where you talk to your kids. You're not just this like person that makes decisions and just doesn't, value your children's opinion. And so like that is one thing that Brandon and I are very transparent with our kids. We talk to them. We tell them, hey, this is our budget this year. Hey, this is, Santa's gonna be doing it a little bit different this year, whatever.
Right.
My kids are like, I asked them, I said, do you want to know the truth? And they go, no.
Yep. Oh
So
God.
we're just
Okay.
leaving it at that.
So, side story, if I can just throw this in here really fast. Oh my gosh, this is so bad. The other day, my oldest, my daughter, she came to me. She was like, Mommy, I need to tell you something, but I'm really scared. And I was like, okay. We went back and forth like this for probably 10 minutes of like, I want to tell you. No, I can't. And I'm like, oh my gosh, just tell me. Like, I need to know. And she's like, okay, I found something in Daddy's drawer. And I'm going, oh no. I can think of a lot of things she could have found in Daddy's drawer.
Oh, no.
And so I'm like, I started sweating a little bit, like, and Kirk had left. Like, he had ran to the grocery store, and I'm like, how dare you leave me alone in this situation, And then she's like, I'll give you a clue. And so she shows me a plastic baggie. And again, my mind is like, a plastic baggie? Like, what? What is this? So she
Oh my gosh, that could go
finally,
so many ways.
so many ways, she finally opens up the drawer and she's like, just look in there, Mommy, just look. And you know what I found? I could have killed Kirk.
What?
I found a baggie with some of her baby teeth from the Tooth Fairy.
No.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Okay, well, first of all, Kirk, that's a little weird.
I know. Well, I think he didn't know what to do with them. And so he just
Yeah,
when he doesn't know how to deal with, I think he felt bad just like throwing them away. And then he just stuffed them in his drawer because that's what he does with everything is he just stuffs it in his drawer. Sorry, honey, if you're
Physical and
listen
emotional.
to this.
No, I'm just kidding.
I know.
Oh my gosh, that is so
And
funny.
so
Kate.
I
She's
know.
like, oh no, the Tooth Fairy's not real.
And I was like, I said, she didn't say that though. I said, honey, do you want to talk about this? And she goes, no, don't talk to me about it. Don't talk to me about it. I was like, okay.
Yep.
And so when Kirk got home and he kind of smoothed it over and like he talked to her about it and talked to her about it in a way that like everything was preserved to keep the magic going.
Yeah.
Whether or not she actually still believes it, she's cool with it. We're all good, but sorry, I kind of went off on a story tangent there. But
no, that's exactly how my kids are. They're like,
Yeah.
we probably know exactly what you're going to say, but it doesn't matter. We are believing, and that is just that.
it's fun because it's fun. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I don't even know where I was going with that. That was
Oh, but
pretty-
we were talking about like if you want to scale back your holidays.
Yeah.
and your kids are used to a certain type
Yeah.
of celebration, like how do you approach that? So you were saying about talking to your kids, which is awesome. Like
Yes,
that's a
exactly. Yeah,
huge
just
first step.
being very, no matter their age, really. I think that we
Yeah.
have to give our wow. I feel like we have to give our kids a lot of credit
Yeah.
that they they have the capacity to understand, and they have the capacity to change and to roll with whatever is happening that year.
Yeah.
I know people talk a lot about consistency and routine with children, and that's good. But when there's a change in the way you want to do your life based on your values, your kids are going your kids are going to go along with it because they love you and they are team players and they want the family unit to be happy and comfortable,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
they're
Well,
they are
and yeah.
capable of that change.
Yes. And if your kids are younger, like mine are, and you're like, I can't have a deep conversation with my 3-year-old because like they're not going to
Come on, Kay, why
grasp the
not?
depth. You're right. I know, right?
Kidding.
But what I was going to say is because like my kids are, my kids are younger, and we did like kind of cut back our holiday expectations just a few years ago. So my oldest was probably maybe 4 or 5, and then the younger ones they just didn't even notice. But yeah, you can talk about it in very simplified terms. And what I found that worked really well was just focusing on the positives. Like we're gonna do
Yeah.
these great, like we're gonna go see the Nutcracker as a family, or we're gonna watch family movies at home, and we're gonna have hot chocolate, and
Yeah.
our holiday is
Man,
gonna be amazing. It's just
that
gonna
hot
be
chocolate
different.
goes a long way. Let me
Always.
just tell you.
Always, always, especially if there's marshmallows.
Yeah, you throw a candy cane in with that deal, and
Oh,
it's gold.
geez. Oh, geez.
They may bounce off the walls after that, but
Right,
hey,
you may regret it a little bit, but
it's gonna be okay. They'll forget everything.
Yeah.
Uh,
But there may be, as you change your approach to the holidays, you may have family members who do not appreciate you changing things up. And you
yeah.
may definitely get pushback. And the only thing that I can really think of to say to that is, only you can live by your values, and only you can decide what's best for your family. And it is hard. It's hard to have conflict, communicate with love and try to find common ground. But at the end of the day, it's your family, and
Yeah.
you have to do what's best for your little family, and not just your extended family.
Exactly. It is hard. People get offended very easily.
Yeah.
But again, like what Kate said, eye on the prize. And that is just the fact that your family is all that matters. Your unit. So, yeah, I love it.
Oh man, this has been such a good talk. I feel
love
like
it.
maybe we kind of were a little random, but I hope that all of you listening not only enjoyed this, but I just hope you feel encouraged to create a holiday that just really resonates with where you're at in this season of life and what your family needs, and forget what the rest of the world is doing. It does not matter. What matters is what is happening in the center of your home.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you think that this would help a friend, or you just think someone might need to know this information, please share it on social media or wherever you want to share it. We would really appreciate it. We'll see you guys next time.